Okay, this is Enzo Cervantes, Enzo Cervantes at gmail.com. Spanish project for this justice class. I'm going to interview my dad, Gustavo Cervantes, who lived in Mexico for 20 years. And let's get this started. So, Gustavo, how did you like the food of Mexico?
Well, the food in Mexico is great. Actually, we have a great variety of food, and it's just amazing. I missed it a lot. I wish I was in my country so I can enjoy it. It was great. It was really, really good.
So, Gustavo, how's the general population? And by general population, I mean, you know, your neighbors, people walking around the streets, figureheads. How do you feel about them?
Well, I feel that in those days when I was in Mexico, the society was pretty friendly, and people on the streets, you can talk and ask questions, and they're very friendly. Will tell you like if you look for certain places, they'll give you directions, and sometimes they even walk you a little close to where you want to go. And the population was was not as it wasn't that great then. Back in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't. There were not a whole lot of people living in my city, which is Guadalajara, Mexico. But slowly started to population to increase rapidly, and things were changing slowly with the the way the technology started to change. You know, but it was great then though. Nowadays it's a lot different, but still still okay though.
So, Gustavo, how did you feel about, you know, I guess transportation and around where you lived? How did you travel to certain places, such as school or maybe the store to go buy some groceries?
Um, it was pretty we only use the transportation uh the local buses, and we actually we commuted by small cars that would take a lot of people inside the cars, and then, there was a lot of walking. There was a lot of walking in my country. It was about bicycles. We used a lot of bicycles in there. So, in general, most people don't have a car, even nowadays. So you gotta do what you can, But public transportation is the main thing over there. I think it's like a 1 or 3 pesos right now to ride a bus somewhere, and they circulate all over the city, pretty much all day and all night.
All right, thank you. Very interesting. And just a quick question. How did the music sound around your era, around your city in Guadalajara, Mexico?
Um, um, well, first of all, you know, I gotta say that the regional, the the Mexican folkloric, and all the culture, the Spanish culture was the main thing over there. There was a lot of romantic acoustic guitars, a lot of it was more vocal, and there was a pretty nice combination of uh, lyrics and musical, and but it was mostly about the lyrics and being romantic. Uh, we also had a lot of influence on music from United States, as well as the United Kingdom, England, which actually, was one of my favorite growing up. Especially music that came from England. It was pretty interesting though. Uh, but I love Mexican folkloric music as well. I have a passion for all three of them.
All right, very nice. And how different do you think living in America is compared to living in Mexico?
To be honest with you, the one of the most amazing things about living in Mexico is that when you when you're in Mexico, you can literally uh, feel a little bit like uh, under pressure because you have to really, really work hard, and sometimes you be barely making it um, to live or just have the basics. Uh, if you if you're just any any worker, but now compared to the United States, um, in the United States there are a lot of opportunities for you if you know it, but you gotta open your eyes and make sure that you take advantage of what this country offers. That's why I don't care where you come from, or the immigrants of this country, where they come from. They could be Chinese. They could be. I mean, talk about Asians. Could be Latinos. It could be people from Europe. But when we come here, we understand how many opportunities there are in here, and we take advantage of them. So that's the difference between living in Mexico and living in the United States of America. You got to be able to understand that if you work hard in this country, it pays off, and you live a more comfortable life than you will in Mexico with the same type of job that I have here. So it's a huge gap.
Oh yeah, I can definitely understand that. And when you lived down in Mexico for your 20 years, how did you feel about the government and the decisions they were making around the time you lived there?
Well, growing up Mexico, I remember the free trade that was between United States, Canada, Mexico, and that had a great impact in my country with the government that I was growing up with. It it actually included China too. It included China, and it it basically uh, impacted Mexico and the United States, also, and as well as the other countries, because there were a lot of jobs that were lost in my country, and also that I noticed were lost here in the United States. I remember all that uh, going through. There was part of that period of time. But other than that, uh, all the decision making on the side of the government were pretty it was pretty unreasonable because there was a lot of corruption going on in those years, and actually still is right now. Uh, of course, a lot of these new generations are getting pretty critical again in when it comes to government in my country. I haven't follow up a whole lot of politics from Mexico lately, but have heard a few comments that are directly to this new government that ain't that that good at all for the Mexicans and all the people that live over there.
All right, so thank you for that. And can you tell me about the housing in Mexico?
Oh yeah, housing in Mexico actually is pretty expensive compared to let's say Georgia, for example. Um, First of all, we don't have the type of land, the size of land that we have in this state. For example, over there, the type of housing that we have are really like building apartments, and the houses are pretty much attached one to another, so you can hear the neighbors screaming right away, overnight, or you can hear people yelling outside at all times, could be night and day. And that's actually the lifestyle we had in my country. I I don't remember a whole lot of houses that were separated by gates or anything really. There were few, but mostly everything is so attached, neighbor to neighbor, house next wall, next attached wall against wall. So it was pretty rough.
All right, and another real quick question: what did you think about the schools that you went to and the schools around you?
Well, actually, I have to say something about education in my country. Um, it is a lot different. The type of education that I got when I was growing up was actually pretty decent and very interesting. I had really some good teachers who loved to teach, so they were amazing teachers. I remember like when I was in middle school, um, some of the teachers that I had in math, chemistry, biology, all those subjects were be very well uh, known in my state, and they helped me out through a lot. In when I was, when I was coming up out of middle school, and it was really good. Then when I came to United States, um, I didn't get to go to a regular high school. Coming to Los Angeles, but I did have a chance to attend like adult high school education, and I found out that that teaching in the United States was not that big of a deal, and a lot of people didn't appreciate much the teachers' like we do in my country. You know, in my country, teachers are very very uh, recognized by students, by families, by moms and dads. We really really love people who teach us in my country, and it was kind of sad to find out that in the United States, so that was totally like the opposite. But as far as education wise, in my country we don't have the kind of technology there is in the United States. So you basically learning off of books still like the old days. They might have maybe a couple of computers in the whole school for students to access, but other than that, still is books and mostly stand up education, you know, from teachers to the students.
All right. And after that question, we're gonna take a quick pause to make sure everything's okay. So bear with me. Okay, we're back, and here we go with the next question. How's fashion back in the 70s and 80s in Mexico around you and around the general population?
Well, to be honest, I enjoyed a lot of those days. So we had new new fashion coming up early in the 70s and 80s. I remember the 80s, for example. There was particularly like there was a haircut like sort of like a mushroom type that was starting to get very famous, very popular. I mean, and that was great. Actually, I did have my haircut like that, and I remember my family looking at me like, "What are you doing?" that's that's kind of weird. And also, the fashion was. I remember the long neck shirts that we used to wear. Uh, the pants that we had was they were all kind of tight all the way to the bottom, like a tubing type of style, and then their haircuts were actually pretty uh kind of like it was a singer known to be probably one of the best samples of that would be like Rod Stewart, where when you have your hair up like almost like a punk. Anyways, yeah, it was pretty nice. The colors that we used, there was a lot of the sea green, baby blue type, light green. It was amazing, actually. It was a good time. Those years with the fashion. Uh, we had a lot of uh, a lot of stuff that was into the fashion moving into the 90s, and it was different. It was a different type of fashion compared to nowadays. Nowadays, I don't understand the new fashion. I just think it's different, but I respect it though. It's all good.
Okay, and how were the how did the kids behave back then? Was it any different from the behavior of the kids living in 2015, or I guess in 2010s right now?
Absolutely. There's a big difference nowadays between the kids on this generation and the kids back then. Uh, really, I can say one word would be kids used to be a little more humble and they used to listen and say, really, really, there was more innocence back then. oh, okay, so you could talk to somebody and nobody would think that this kid knew everything like nowadays. Um, it'd be like right these days. Sometimes you're trying to explain somebody or little kid what's going on, and they try to tell you no that you're wrong. They're trying to teach you what's going on, and they don't seem to have more that kind of. They seem to have more like an attitude rather than have this humble thing about humans. But this generation is just a little bit different. Uh, it's just the way it is. There's nothing you can do about it, and I guess all this is because the new world technology. They know a whole lot when they're a lot younger, so it's a lot of information they learn nowadays in younger years.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Sometimes they act like they wanna. They act a little more mature now. Like they want to be mature faster. They're starting to realize that. But on to the next question. How was how big was religion in Mexico, and what kind of different religions were practiced around you and tried to influence you to join them?
Um, well, I grew up on my dad's side, actually, Catholic Church. Um, and I had a really, really, really strong religious uh, growing up with my dad. Um, I wasn't really forced to go to church, but my dad showed me that religion was very, very important part of your life in any time. And I had a really, really strong faith when I was growing up with my dad, and even though there were other different religions in my country, just like anywhere else. I remember the Mormons in Mexico. There were Buddhism. There was uh, Jewish. Actually, in Mexico, we have diversity of cultures. There are not so big communities of them, but we got few of them. But I was never really um, interested in any of those. Most of the people are, the area where I grew up, were more into the Catholicism. Of course, that was a legacy from the Spaniards. We really, really we got influenced by their beliefs. So that's what I learned basically when I was a kid in my country.
All right. And how was um how was the media around you in Mexico? Like kind of sports, the kind of sports that were popular, uh, the kind of TV shows that everybody would watch. All that. How was that back then?
Well, the media in my country um was actually pretty um it was very, very I can say it was mostly based on I can't explain that. It's there was a wave of TV like news, and they were very very explicit, and all they wanted to bring up was, tragic, tragic, in pretty uh, amazing ways, so they can capture all the viewers, as much as they can. I didn't really like that part. Everybody wants, everybody was most interested in what kind of uh, you know news came up on media that were shocking. It was so bad growing up with that. But I do remember enjoying um, some TV um, TV shows like there was one so already I enjoyed very much growing up. It was about martial arts. Um, think it's called Kung Fu. It's about a martial arts teachers teaching, martial art teaching through meditation. That was a pretty good because it show you how to deal with daily life, you know, passages. It was pretty interesting. There was some other shows. They were for kids, um, but I really enjoy um, the sports. That was my thing when I was growing up. Watching soccer games from many countries in the Olympic Games was my major thing. Because I remember I can give you a sample of why I enjoyed the Olympics in my country. Uh, Growing up, watching the Olympics over there and watching the Olympics here was totally different. Um, like I can watch the Olympics in my country, and they show every competitor from all the world, from mostly every competitor from different countries. When but when I started watching it here in the United States, you could just really see only the United States uh, athletes participating in the events, and that wasn't tasty because it really is about the world competing, but it was heartbreaking to see just competitors from the United States, and you don't get to see other people from another, other parts of the world competing once another, like Chinese against Russians, or you know, Italians versus Venezuelans, and it's pretty different though. But I have a good time in my country watching TV, watching sports. Did enjoy the media, uh, but there were some really good shows.
All right, and Gustavo, how were the advancements in technology around Mexico, such as portable music players, new cell phones, and cordless phones? How was all that around you in Mexico?
Well, when I came to the United States, actually, what we had those days were really the latest thing we ever had was CD players. That was, one of the last big things that were introduced in my country. Um, Before then, there was just really tape players, boom boxes, and there was no cell phones over there. Actually, um, the coolest thing was to have a. I remember in the early 80s, one of the big things that came out in those days was a calculator, a pocket calculator. That was like, what? Look at this thing. Well, oh, everybody was shocking. It was a really amazing technology advance in those days, as well as the watches, that were made with quartz, the quartz watches, the digital ones. Um, there was pretty much a huge advance in our technology back then in that country. Um, that was, like I say, early 80s. Um, after that, um, I came to the United States, so I I first saw the cell phone right here in this country. We didn't have nothing over there back then. It was nothing but payphones and um really not an advanced technology side yet.
All right. And for the last question, how was the city life in Mexico? And did you enjoy the city life? And did you ever think about spending your entire life in the city?
Oh yeah, I did enjoy the city life I had coming up when I was a kid. Um, I really, where I come from is basically it's it's all concrete, pretty much, and we um, we we have one of the is the second biggest city in Mexico where I come from, and it was pretty interesting. I had we had movie theaters, we had parks. It was a lot of activities for kids growing up, as well as sports. Um, and there was all kinds of activities you could get involved when you were a kid, and kept pretty busy all the way till I came back here. Um, I really stayed busy over there. It was fun. It was fun. I wish my kids had the chance to live a life in the city like I grew up at. You know, hopefully they will move into the big city and know what it's like. You gotta stay busy there though.
All right. These have been all the questions for today. Thank you for listening. That was Gustavo Cervantes on the microphone, and me, Enzo Cervantes, asking the questions. Have a good day. Thank you.